Hi, it's Dot from dotstrot.com, and Thanksgiving is right around the corner, so I'm going to make today a stuffing that doesn't include bread or any grains. Stuffing is probably one of the hardest things for low carbers to give up, simply because if you think about it about giving up, because you feel like you're depriving yourself. But in reality, you're eating much healthier when you don't have breads or grains in your diet. You're lowering your blood sugar. So what I started looking at is other ways I can enjoy stuffing, but without obviously the sugars or the carbs attached to it. And what I started thinking about was a lot of times in the morning I might make a hash, which is just simply I'll start adding vegetables together, maybe with some eggs or who knows what. And then I just, sure enough, I come up with a little hash that I make in the morning just with used vegetables. And that got me thinking that's sort of the same technique I can use for making my own stuffing for Thanksgiving. So this time, for this year, I'm making a mushroom chorizo sausage stuffing, and it's the first time I'm making it, so we'll see how it goes. I'm testing it. It's a few weeks before Thanksgiving, and if this all goes well, then it's what I'm going to be using on Turkey Day. So my ingredients are brown mushrooms. I've cut them basically just in half. I want to leave them nice and big. I have some chorizo sausage, yellow onion, garlic, salt and pepper for taste. I have parsnips, and a baby eggplant all diced up. And these are really I'm thinking these are gonna double for my bread just because of the texture of them. And then I've got some fresh sage and thyme as well. So the first thing I'm gonna do is using my baby eggplant, put that in there. Now one of the things I did beforehand is I salted the eggplant. I cut it in half and salted it. And then I let it sit for about a half hour. And the reason why I did that was simply I wanted to draw out any excess fluid in it. Sometimes that can make the eggplant taste a little bitter. So I'm going to put this on parchment paper rather than oiling them. And what I'm going to do at my temperature of my oven is about 400. I'm going to leave them in there for a little bit, maybe up to a half hour. The eggplant will be finished before them. I'm just going to roast everything. And the idea is I'm going to soften them up so they're at least fork tender. The parsnips are going to take a little bit longer. So I'm going to go ahead and shoot them in the oven and get that going. And then we'll be back to start sauteing some of the other ingredients. All right, my eggplant is out of the oven, but the parsnips are still cooking. I went ahead and melted some butter. And what I'm going to do is just go ahead and saute for about a minute some crushed garlic. And then I'm also going to add in, get that all stirred around, the onion as well. Basically what I want to do is I chopped up the onion and the garlic, and I just want to add some flavor, and I want to get the onions translucent, which is about 3 to 5 minutes depending on how high you're cooking it. I'm cooking it on a medium heat. I don't want it to cook so fast, I don't want to burn it. And then while the onions are still going, obviously I just put them in so they're not ready yet, I'm actually going to add in the sausage, and the sausage will actually add a nice color to it and impart some flavor into the onions and garlic as well before I add in the mushrooms. Stirring on occasion because you don't want it to burn. You don't want anything burning. But if you have it at, like I said, about a medium heat, you shouldn't have to worry about burning. So I'm going to let that cook for a few minutes, and then before I add in my mushrooms. All right, if you take a look at the onions, you can see that they're a little bit orangish color. They basically have absorbed the fat that's coming off of the sausage. So that's exactly what I wanted. And what I'm going to do is go ahead and add in my mushrooms. That includes the stems too. I have everything just chopped in half. And what I'm going to do is just mix everything up, and I'm going to let this go ahead and cook. I want the the mushrooms to basically start losing some water. You'll see a lot more liquid come out of them as they cook, and they're going to start shriveling up a little bit. I'm still going to leave them a little bit big, but I just want to get them nice and soft. And again, I'm mixing it up because, as you can see here, they're taking on the coloring basically from the fat from the sausage. You can see them changing color a little bit, the white portions. So I'm going to go ahead and let this saute after I'm done mixing it up, and then in about 5 minutes or so, we should be ready to pull them off of the oven, off of the stove, and then get ready to put them in the food processor to do some chopping. All right, the mushrooms they're looking wonderful. They've taken on the flavor of the sausage. And what I'm going to get ready to do now is put everything in the food processor. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to start off using my parsnips. And they're fork tender, but they also have a little bit of a crispiness to them, which is awesome. I'm going to go ahead and add in my baby bellas. They're a little bit softer texture, but the idea is that this is going to be served in place of my bread that you would normally use in a stuffing. So I'm at a different angle here, so I have to be a little careful because I don't want this spilling, but I'm just going to go ahead and pour everything in. And I am perfectly fine for getting as much of that liquid in because I do want the parsnips to and the eggplant to go ahead and pick up some of those flavors as well. Now what I'm going to add is I'm going to add some fresh thyme and sage to get chopped up in there. A little bit of salt. Here we go. I'm using sea salt and black pepper. Okay, and then what are you going to do is go ahead and start pulsing it to get everything nice and chopped. And then what I'm going to do is scrape down the sides. Always scrape down the sides. Ooh. Oh, it smells really good. It smells wonderful. It's you definitely have that sausage, but also I got a really nice whiff of sage in there. See how it's chopping up? So it's a hash, but it also can definitely double as a stuffing easily. Or traditional stuffing, I should say. Let's pulse it a little bit more. Well, I'm not going to use that spoon. But anyway, it looks really, really good. And I'm going to take a little taste. Okay, that's awesome. It's really, really moist like stuffing should be. The parsnips add a bit of have a bit of springiness to them. So again, it sort of is, I don't like my stuffing, my bread is so terribly mushy, but the parsnips do have a bread texture to them, which is just great. And it just tastes amazing. The mushrooms and the chorizo sausage really taste wonderful together. I don't even think I need to add more salt to it or pepper. At this point, it's if you know my guests want to go ahead and add salt and pepper, the husband, my mom, whoever, go right ahead, knock yourselves out. But there's a lovely spiciness from that sausage too that I use instead of just a regular, ground sausage that you would use. I use a chorizo instead. I'm sure an andouille sausage would add a great flavor to this as well. So I'm going to go ahead and take this out of my processor, and then it's got enough moisture in there that you can put it in the oven and keep it warm until you're ready to eat it. So I'm going to actually go ahead and get it into a serving dish that's going to sit in the oven and keep it warm until my chicken is done. I'm making this a few weeks before Thanksgiving, like I said, to test it. So right now I'm going to go ahead and get it into my serving dish. All right, I got my stuffing in a serving dish, and it's wonderfully moist. It's also very, very fluffy, which is awesome, which is what I wanted. I didn't want it overwhelmingly damp. I don't think this is a stuffing you want to use to stuff your turkey. I just think with the turkey being in the oven for 4 or 5 hours, you're going to dry this out. Not the way I would go. I think that's what the good thing about having a grain or a bread for a stuffing inside of a bird. I could be wrong about that, but that's my hunch. But this is a really nice stuffing that you can have, that you can serve on the outside of the turkey. It's very fluffy. It's very healthy. There's about comes out to about 3/4 cup serving size, which should be more than enough given how many dishes people usually serve at Thanksgiving. It gives you just enough, and it's about roughly 2 net carbs per serving too, so that's a great value for the stuffing. And again, it's a lot of different elements that go into it, but it's really easy to make, and that's what you want. And also, it's fast. The entire time for me to sort of pull this together was maybe about 15 minutes of prep, if even that, and then the parsnips take about 30 minutes in the oven. That's the longest piece as far as preparing everything. Everything else, sauteing, is just maybe 10 minutes total, and then you just add everything to the food processor. So it's easy and it's quick. That's awesome for stuffing. And also, more importantly, it tastes great. So this Thanksgiving, if you're looking for something a little healthier than your traditional stuffings, go ahead and give this a try.